And let's see if we can get the camera angle right so we can do this set of haiku that I wrote for Friday the 13th. And if you haven't seen the Friday the 13th movies, sorry for spoilers if there are spoilers with these haiku. So let's go ahead and get into this set. I'm going to do 3 haiku for each of these episodes. That's going to be should be about 4 episodes worth of Friday the 13th goodness. Jason is one of my favorite slasher monsters, so to speak. And of the big series out there, I think Friday the 13th is one of my favorites, along with Scream, Evil Dead, Psycho, and what was the found footage? The VHS ones were also really solid. And I didn't throw Nightmare on Elm Street in there or Halloween because there's parts of Nightmare on Elm Street that I personally would never want to see again. Part 5, Part 6 are rough. There are several Halloween movies that I don't really care for all that much. But Friday the 13th, I can turn that series on, any movie, good or bad, and find some enjoyment in them. Even Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, I can find some goodness there too. The ending is rough on that one, really rough. They should have cut that one when they got to Manhattan pretty soon after. That whole ending was terrible. But the boxing, knocking that guy's head off, classic Jason. All right, let's get into these haiku. And what I'm going to try and do is recap all of these movies in haiku form. So 575, that's what I'm going to try and do. First haiku for Friday the 13th, the very first movie, goes, camp reopening. Chaos and murder ensue. A mother's revenge. And if you've seen that first one, surprise, surprise, tune out if you don't want to hear this part. Twist ending. Mama did it in that one, not Jason Voorhees. I don't think some people may not know that. So I hope I didn't spoil that for you. But like I said, there will be spoilers in these haiku. Next one, Friday the 13th, Part 2. It goes, wearing a brown sack. Jason Voorhees is alive, stacking up bodies. And, in case you didn't know this, Jason did not have the hockey mask in Part 2. That came in the next movie, Part 3, the 3D one. Jason wore a really cool looking sack in Part 2 with that little eye hole sticking out. Really liked Sackhead Jason. He was pretty cool looking. I don't think he would have become as iconic a killer as he did once he got the hockey mask, but Sackhead Jason, kudos to Sackhead Jason. And the third haiku and the last haiku in this series, in this episode, I should say. This is Friday the 13th, Part 3, the one that was in 3D. So you're trying to do a little 3D at you right there. I get that right? Spooky a little bit. Anyways, this haiku goes, carnage continues. Wearing a white hockey mask, Jason has returned. And in case you didn't know this by now, this is where Jason got the hockey mask, Part 3. I think it was Shelley, the goofball in that movie, was walking around with that mask on, and Jason just wound up with it. Pretty cool stuff. And that's it for these 3 on this episode.
The hockey mask, it's pretty interesting. We all know Part 1 is his mama, and she don't wear no hockey mask. Friday the 13th, Part 2, it does not appear in this film, of course. He's wearing the burlap sack with the one eye cut out of it, which is pretty cool, I think. I always liked Sackhead Jason. Part 3 is where we really get to know Jason Voorhees. And it says, in this film, the mask has a red arrowhead triangle in between the eyes, as well as 2 red triangles on either side of the nose. See? A little more detail than you thought. And I was going through this going, wow, I didn't realize these masks had so much detail to them. Friday the 13th, Part 4, the final chapter. Your laugh here, of course. This is relatively unchanged. The differences between this mask and the one from Part 3 are the crack in the forehead from the axe got delivered to him, the center triangle having its right side peeled off, and the triangle on the sides of the nose are worn off with only outlines remaining. Okay, this is for Friday the 13th, the final chapter. The haiku goes, murdering at will. Jason leaves a trail of blood. Time for him to die. And I did this before. I couldn't remember who the actor was that played McFly. I still can't remember his name. Third attempt at this, and I still can't remember his name. But he has a gnarly death in this movie. Takes like a cleaver to the face and has like his hand on a counter and like a wine bottle thing opener hits his hand and pins him there. Then he gets his cleaver right to his face. It's pretty gnarly stuff. Tom Savini does the gore in this one, and the dude knows how to make realistic deaths in movie. I think he was a photographer in Vietnam, if I'm not mistaken. So he took a lot of that knowledge he got, that unfortunate knowledge, I would say, from Vietnam, and applied it to his makeup effects. So that's probably why they look so real in his movies. He's seen it firsthand, unfortunately. Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, goes like this. Jason is reborn. Murderous killing rampage. Copycat revealed. And like I said, there are spoilers. If you didn't know there was a copycat in part 5, there is. But there's some pretty gnarly, deaths in that one too. Jason does not appear in this one. Again, like I said, spoilers alert. It's an imposter. The mask is more circular, and there are 2 blue triangles on it instead of 3 red ones. When Jason does appear in dream sequences, he retains his mask from the previous film, but with a large blood streak running down his mask, protruding from the axe wound in his head. Part 6, Jason Lives, goes rebirthed by lightning. Zombie Jason on the loose. The lake is his tomb. It goes, Jason's mask is in the possession of Tommy Jarvis, of course. This is where he comes back like Frankenstein, which is really cool. The lightning effect with a big rod that comes down and blows up. And it's really cool. Even got kind of a James Bond intro, which is really, really neat. I'm trying to scan through here. Jason dons it once again when Tommy accidentally resurrects him. The mask is noticeably dirty and still retains the axe crack from part 3. Only the top red triangle remains on the mask, but with a slightly different shape that would also be featured in parts 7 and 9. Here's a history of Jason's mask for Friday the 13th, part 7, The New Blood. It says, Jason's mask is visibly whiter in this movie, and the top triangle has become a darker shade of red. In addition, a small chunk of the mask is cut out from the damage caused to Jason's face and neck in the last movie by Megan Garris. Motorboat propeller. Jason's mask is destroyed during the climax of the film by Tina Shepard, who uses telekinesis to tighten it until it splits in half. And I have to say, this is one of the best looking Jasons in the franchise. Probably my favorite looking Jason of all of them, all moldy and rotten and waterlogged, and he's just beautifully disgusting in this movie, especially that shot of him coming out of the lake, clothes tattered and body parts showing. Just great effects. It was too bad that the MPAA butchered this movie, because there were some really strong kills in this film and some of Jason's best. But the one thing the MPAA did help was the scene where Jason picks up the camper and slams her in the tree. Well, he's got her by the sleeping bag and slams her into the tree. That was like 5, 6, 7 hits, but the MPA said, no, that's too many. So they improvised and went with 1, and now it's much, much better, because it shows a lot more power in Jason Voorhees when he can kill somebody with just 1 big swing. So that's it for the information on the mask. Now here's the haiku for Friday the 13th, part 7, The New Blood, and then Friday the 13th, part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. And if you who have seen this, your laugh here as the sun goes behind the clouds and gives this spooky green glow behind me. Kind of cool. I like that. All right, Friday the 13th, part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Here's the mask information. Upon his resurrection in this film, of course he's resurrected. He wouldn't be Jason Voorhees if he didn't resurrect. Jason acquires a new mask on board the Lazarus, Your joke here, right? This mask is more of a yellowish color, is much wider, and amazingly also has the axe crack, though it is much more narrow. The two bottom triangles are back, but are thinner and facing in the opposite direction. At the end of the movie, toxic waste causes the mask to partially disintegrate. Horrible idea. Horrible ending to this movie. Just hate the ending of this movie. It's really terrible. I like everything else in it, but the ending of this movie is awful. And this goes on to say, the last sentence says, this leaves the mask with an excess of holes and plenty of acid wash. So anyways, yeah, the ending of this movie is not very good. If they would have cut it in New York, when you got to New York, and cut it there somewhere without going in all that toxic waste stuff, it'd been a much stronger finish. Anyways, those are cool facts to learn. Let's move on to the haiku for Friday the 13th, Part 8. Jason Takes Manhattan. Or if you want to get technical, Jason takes a boat, because he's in a boat most of the time in this movie. And when he gets to New York, most of it's in Canada. There's only a little bit in Times Square. But anyways, cool poster, cool title. I do enjoy the movie for the most part. All right, here's the haiku.